road split for the Cats last weekend, 81-64 at Davenport, and then 81-75 at Grand Valley State. I'll start with Thursday against Davenport. Always eventful when we take on the Panthers. 3 technical fouls, a flagrant 2 just for good measure in there right at the end. How do you feel like the guys handled it and were able to keep their composure in a game like that?
Yeah, I actually thought it was more the officials trying to prevent things from happening than anything actually happened. The flagrant 2 was, a rough play, but it wasn't. I didn't think the game overall was that rough. I thought the officials did a really good job of kind of keeping it clean, and the double technical early, I think, set the tone. And it was. I thought the game overall was a pretty clean game, despite all that. I think it helps when you're comfortably ahead the whole time, and that game felt leading wire to wire and just having control of it the whole time. That's obviously what you want, especially on the road. As we saw the next night, when you don't have that comfortable of a lead, anything can happen the last 8 minutes. So I think the only way that you can win is to win by 10 plus. Other than that, you need a little luck on your side. So
I remember watching you guys play them in the tournament, and the type of pressure they bring defensively is something that, if you can get up early, I would have to assume is just extremely comfortable and puts you at ease a little bit. Do you game plan for that, saying like, we've got our our heavy hitters coming up right out of the bat so we can get up maybe a couple possessions, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we're 8-1 against them since I've been here. Now, the one loss was in the conference championship game to go to the NCAA tournament, so I'd trade all 8 of those wins for that one. But I think what we've done that has led to some success against them is we don't turn it over a ton, and they thrive off turning it over, speeding you up, getting you out of rhythm, keeping you off balance. And just because we haven't turned it over against them as much, I think that takes some of the wind out of their sails in general terms, because they feed off that. And the one time they beat us, we're without our guards who are injured. That didn't help us in that game. So this game with a freshman point guard, obviously Brian's been out for a while, but we still had a freshman point guard. We really have only one other guy playing that I would consider like a true guard in Max Bjorklund. But so for a true freshman to have 13 assists in that game against that pressure, that's how you beat them. And he had, I think, 13 assists, 1 turnover. You're going to beat a pressure-based team if your point guard can go 13 assists, 1 turnover. So, obviously a lot of guys stepped up, but it almost was that simple. He just handled their pressure, and when you can handle pressure that way, you're going to win.
Now, in that game, the Cats saw some 1-3-1 zone. Cats haven't seen a ton of zone this season, didn't see a ton of it last year either, but it feels like over these last couple of years, every time the Cats have seen zone or different looks defensively, it hasn't slowed them down all that much. So what is the importance, and what can you say about your squad's ability to execute against different looks that they see on defense?
Yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this because it's giving it away a little bit, but we love when someone does something to us out of the norm. And I think the reason is just because we've had such good and smart guards. Our guards are different level IQ. They're just really, really heady. And so whenever we see a look that isn't traditional, instead of it bothering us, we usually look at it as an opportunity to go attack something. So whether it's the Ferris press, whether it's the Davenport zone, it seems like we've offensively played a lot better when we get an odd look of some sort. Unfortunately, most of the coaches in the league have caught on to that, and mostly we play against half-court man now, and people don't try a lot of stuff on us. Davenport, though, in fairness, they zone every game. So it's part of who they are, so they're not going to change that. And this time, they actually gave us a ton of trouble with their zone. We've beaten it pretty consistently. This time they made some adjustments, and the zone actually gave us fits really for the first time. But we just made enough plays, and we got them in transition sometimes where they couldn't set up the zone, and we got a few offensive rebounds. So we were able to kind of win in the margins, even though I thought they actually came out and executed their zone better than really anyone has against us since I've been here.
So then, talking about Saturday at Grand Valley, like against Ferris and against Lake State, it's another close loss where you look at the box score and there's a substantial drop in shooting efficiency from the first half to the second half. What changed as the game went on?
Yeah, I think we have lost a lot of games this year because we haven't done something right, or we haven't done this or that or whatever else. This one, I thought they earned it. They were better than us. They made better plays. We missed shots that I thought were pretty good. They made some shots that I thought were fairly tough, although not as tough as we need them to be. I thought we got out-coached on Saturday, which especially the second half, I thought we came out with a really good plan, but they adjusted and we maybe actually over-adjusted instead of just sticking with what we were doing. So I wish we could have that back. And then the other thing is late in the year, on the road, back-to-back games, 6-hour bus ride, all the stuff. We're not right now quite in good enough shape, quite tough enough, quite enough depth. You're starting 4 freshmen. Our bench is deep at the forward spot, but at the guard spot right now, we're just not deep enough, and we ran out of juice. And so there's a few things we could have done differently in different ways, but at the end of the day, the big picture is we need to have a more complete roster and make sure we have enough guard depth. Now, we've lost 2 of our projected starters. One's not on the team anymore, and one has been hurt for the whole second semester. We're 18-7. I'm very confident no other team in our league would be 18-7 if you took out 2 of their 3 starting guards.
Coach, you briefly touched on the toughness in part of talking about Saturday's game against Grand Valley. That was one of the big things that we talked a lot about going into that game. That's what you felt like cost the Cats in the first meeting with Grand Valley. Still not quite there, at least on paper, in terms of the rebounding, which was the big thing that we talked about, but it was better.
Yes.
Do you feel like the guys were tough enough?
Yes, I thought we were tough enough. We were tough enough to win. We were tough enough to win. We played hard enough to win. We prepared well enough to win. And of our 7 losses, that's the first one that I can say we did everything right going into the game. Obviously, we didn't play a perfect game, but I thought everything mentally and physically was there. We just lost. And up to this point, and I think that's why it was a different feeling than we've had the other games, our losses have been because we were tough enough against Grand Valley. We blew a 12-point lead against Ferris. They've been something that wasn't the other team's doing. It was our doing. And this game, I felt like they just took it, even though we were ready and all that kind of stuff.
So, last home weekend of the season means senior day is coming up. Cats have 2 seniors. Max Bjorklund, obviously we've talked a ton about him this season, and then Ben Wolf, who rejoined the team for the second semester and is contributing to that forward depth. Only seen him a couple of times this year, but every time in big spots. So, what can you say about this senior class and what they've meant to you and to your program? Yeah,
I'll start with Ben. So Ben was here when I got here. He's the last player left of the guys that were here when I got here, and he's every year played a huge role. The smallest role he's played is this year because he ended up only playing 1 semester, so he was a little, he's been playing catch up, and some of our other guys have, cemented roles pretty good, but he has been huge for our program. If you go back to year 1, we beat Ferris State in the first round of the conference tournament. I think that changed some of the trajectory of the program. Ben was the best player on the floor as a freshman in that game. I think he got uniquely affected a little bit with the COVID stuff because his sophomore year was very disjointed, and then, since then, whatever. But he's been a starter on last year's 18-win team, all 9 wins in a row he was starting for. He's been a huge part of what we've done. And I'm just really, really thankful and happy that we got this last semester out of him. He's having more fun than I've ever seen him have playing basketball, even though he's not playing as much, because I think that semester away showed him how much it meant to him and how much he cared about being part of the team, and it's been awesome for our younger guys. And then Max Bjorklund, I don't really know where to start. The quick version of it is we were, for 20 years, Northern Michigan basketball was not very good, and maybe there's more to it, but if you really wanted to, you could say one person changed it, and I don't think that'd be totally unfair. Just in the sense of he came here and he's been our best player for 3 straight years. He shows up. We have a 500 year. Second year, finish third, go 18-12. We'll see how this year ends, but we're 18-7 and in a pretty good spot. And he's been the best player for all 3 of those teams. Now, our team this year has a ton around him, but he's been the guy for 3 years, and everything that happens is done through him in some capacity. So to say he's one of the all-time greats at Northern, I think that's almost obvious at this point. To say he's one of the most important people in the history of Northern Michigan basketball, I think that's obvious at this point. So I don't really know what more you could say about him. I just hope we can send him out with one of those special years. And we've messed some games up here lately, but if we can get back and win, to me, that's my biggest motivation for the rest of this year. Is he deserves it, and it's up to all of us to send him out the way he deserves based on how he's played and everything he's done for our program, for me, for his teammates.
So then the very next step in that starts this weekend with Parkside and Purdue Northwest coming to town. Coach, your thoughts on the work ahead for this weekend?
Yeah, Parkside looks like they're going to win the league, one way or another. We've fallen 2 games back, but you never know. But they're playing awesome. I love watching them play. They're the best team in the league for sure. They're one of the best teams I've ever seen as far as everybody doing their role to perfection. They're young. They're not quite as young as us, but they're young. And their kids have just been awesome. And they've, similarly, they've been okay the last couple years, and they've been really good in the past. And this team took this huge step forward, and definitely going to have our hands full with them. Bello, if Max isn't the best player in the league, Bello is. He also might be the best defender in the league. He's unbelievable, and then everyone else around him does their jobs to perfection, and it's going to be really tough. And then Purdue has two all-conference level players for a team where they are in the standings. They have maybe the best 1-2 punch in the league, which is kind of crazy. And their role guys are really talented. They've just, haven't quite gelled, haven't hit that stride yet. And I'm hoping they don't this weekend because, it'd be nice to, get to this weekend in one way, shape, or form. But it's going to be a grind. I don't think either of them are going to be easy. I'm anticipating 2 probably close games, and we're going to have to find ways to make plays down the stretch.
Now, one other thing that's notable to me about this weekend is that Cats have another 11 a.m. game. Now, I'm not sure if it was entirely the reason or if it was part of it or how you felt about it, but there is no denying that in the last 11 a.m. game, the Cats did not start the game all that great. So is there anything you change about handling that early start time?
No, but I think it's good that we'll be doing it a second time. I mean, the first time I think was a little sensory shock, and we got to get better on Saturdays. Like we've been okay, but we got to get better on Saturdays. And if we're gonna do we still have some goals in front of us. The conference tournament, you got to play back-to-back days. So we got to get better on the second day, especially at the start of games. I don't know what it is, I think we just gotta. We got to appreciate it. Either way, going into Saturday, we're going to have a ton of emotions from Thursday. Either we beat Parkside and we're back in the possibility of getting an at-large to the NCAA tournament, or we're going to lose to Parkside and we're going to be out of the possibility of getting an at-large to the NCAA tournament. So either way, when we head into that Saturday game, there is going to be crazy emotions going through our team. And then if you add in senior day, we know we're going to be super emotional about Thursday's result. One way or another, we have to take that emotion, whether it's happiness or anger or whatever, and we got to channel it right heading into Saturday, and not let whatever happens Thursday affect us Saturday in a bad way. Hopefully it affects us in a good way. It gets us more excited or it gets us angry and we use that. But either way, we can't let Thursday's results impact Saturday. And I thought last weekend with the Saginaw Wayne, or last home weekend, we did a little bit of that. We were pretty happy with the Saginaw result and maybe let up a little on the Saturday Wayne game.